Our topic is all about disparity, and our title is Augmented Poor-Rich Gap Amidst Pandemic, the student's view in the matter. Disparity is a condition where inequality, unfairness, gap, differences are present. We chose the topic disparity because it is a present situation that people around the world are experiencing even during the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, we want to dig deep to be able to distinguish the reason why is there such thing as disparity between the rich and the poor even in the middle of the pandemic.
In this kind of pandemic, we can see who are suffering the most, not just on their life, but also on their living. The schools more than the countries and regions remain entirely closed because of the coronavirus pandemic.
IMF research shows that the inequality gap between rich and poor has widened after previous epidemic, and the COVID-19 will be no different. The COVID-19 recession is now generally seen as the biggest global calamity. Sweden, Philippines are the countries that experience this issue.
In preventing the spreading of COVID-19, it requires proper health protocol, strict confinement initiatives, including comprehensive bans on movement and mass assemblies, closing of schools and non-essential businesses, stay-at-home orders, and compulsory use of facial masks outside the house have been enforced to contain the spread of the virus. There is no doubt that everyone is in a vulnerable spot, especially the poor. They might find it hard to follow the community quarantine measures since they have a family to feed. Some people think that working from home is not an option since most of them work in a public or crowded environment, such as jeepney drivers and service sectors. Stocking up of food, medicine, and other necessities will be a hard task for those people without regular incomes, enough savings to acquire necessities for the time being, or those who don't have access to financial services. With this matter, the local government could use calamity funds to fill the cost of the poorest sectors. Lack of access and high cost of essential places to poorest in a vulnerable spot and at risk since a proper hygiene is a challenge.
This issue or problems already eradicated now. If not, what is the situation of these countries regarding this issue or problems? Nowadays, we're facing the biggest problem of our countries, but not just in our countries, but it's all over the world, are being eradicated already. I observe that there is an inequality are being exposed in our society, and even the post of pandemic world can face greater inequality and if the government complacement. In this research paper, there has a bias living of rich and poor people. The least developed countries has the poor health services and the less prepared to deal with this pandemic. They don't have advanced economic to respond to the economic issues. While the rich people are at the advantage when it comes to their needs and wants, they can easily deal with these economic issues.
The government of New Zealand relied on science and expertise to make decisions, and they are able to control the said disease. It by trust and solidarity only, to reduce inequality first by equal distributing of income. Some countries are committed to vaccine nationalism like Costa Rica to ensure that the knowledge relevant to addressing COVID-19 is used for the entire world.
In conclusion, today is not the time for inequality. It is a time for unison where everyone is helping and showing empathy. In today's situation, it is essential to think about the others too, because not everyone is privileged enough to survive in this pandemic. A simple help could mean a lot to those who really need it. We should not be blinded by the status of individual lives. We should not let disparity exist, especially in this time of pandemic.
Cooperation and longer patience are very important in today's situation. This may be the hardest time that we have experienced, but we also need to think before we act rashly. Everyone is affected by the pandemic, and we should not act selfishly just to justify our personal needs and issues. We just have to make things productive enough, but also following the rules implemented at the same time. We will eventually get through all of these disasters that has been going on and go back to what our life used to be.
Before we conclude that we can positively face the effect of COVID-19 when it comes to our everyday needs and our health needs. When in particular, we currently experiencing the issues about COVID-19 pandemic. We observe that the biggest outbreak, which has resulted in a major worldwide economic depression in our modern economies. The main focus of our research paper is between the bias living of poor and rich people. And this research paper helps everyone to be aware about the pandemic.
The pandemic has caused drastic changes to our way of living. Their problem is also worsened by the utilization of the new models of teaching. But all of these are just challenges to continue life. We must all adapt to all the changes that is happening because it is the only constant thing in this world.
In this kind of pandemic, we can see who are suffering the most, not just on their life, but also on their living. The schools more than the countries and regions remain entirely closed because of the coronavirus pandemic.
COVID-19 pandemic has a big impact in both rich and poor class, especially in our global economy. Those students belong in lower and middle class did not enroll this school year. However, those students belong in the higher class has a capability to enroll in this new normal learning.